What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, Universal Mastery. What I do on my channel is I break down the occult sciences and I break them down to a very practical and understandable level so that you can utilize them and apply them in your day-to-day life. Okay? Now, what I'm going to be doing in today's video is obviously this is a little bit different of a setup. If you tune into my channel regularly, you know this isn't my usual setup. The reason for that is because I have a whiteboard behind me and I've got a marker right here, so I'm going to be utilizing the whiteboard just to give a better understanding, and this is going to be the topic of the video, of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, and what exactly is it in its totality, and how exactly do the most professional, powerful, you could say occultists or magicians use it. Okay, so if you want to know what I'm talking about, which not too many people really break down the way that I'm about to break it down, then stay tuned for the rest of the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to say though is definitely go and check out my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content. None of that content is going to be on my YouTube channel. This is just for my Patreon members. So some of that content is going to be geared towards actual spiritual practices that are meant to get you real results. And the practices that I have on there are very important. So for example, I have a practice of how to do an invocation on video format where I'm doing the invocation myself, and I'm teaching you how to do it yourself so that you get success. As long as you're consistent with it, and as long as you go into it with the right state of mind, which comes with discipline and consistency, you will get 100% success. Okay, so these are like, these videos are more so geared for the people that are taking their occult practices a little bit more serious than the average person, okay? So, but it also does go from beginner to intermediate to advanced as well. So anyone can gain value from what I have on there. Then the other bit of the videos is going to be geared towards educational entertainment. So that's going to be a video that's similar to this one where it's entertaining. You know, you could kind of just throw it on your headphones, listen to it, but at the same time, you're gaining a lot of value from listening to it. So you're actually making good use of your time. So where you're going to be able to find my Patreon is if you go to the drop down, my description. If you click that little drop down, it's going to be that very first link at the top, and it says my Patreon right next to it. So in order to gain access to the exclusive content and some other things as well, I'll let you check that out for yourself. You have to at least be a tier 2 member or up. So in order to be a tier 2 member, it literally costs $9.95 a month. And if you do the math, that literally costs less than $1 a day. And with the value that I have on my Patreon, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever why you shouldn't be able to afford that with the value that I have on there. And as you go up in tiers, the price goes up as well, and also the benefits. So I'll let you check that out for yourself. And right there, I'd love to give a special shout out to the top tier members of the Patreon. And once again, I do encourage you to look at the top tier yourself, because the benefits do get pretty great. So once again, huge shout out to the top tier members. Their names are going to be mentioned right below that Patreon link. You'll see them right there. So huge shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, let's go right into this video. So this is going to be my first time writing on this board, so I'm not 100% sure if you're going to be able to see it on the camera, which I really hope you are. So we're gonna test it out. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the Sephiroth. So I'm going to start with what is known as the front side of the tree of life, okay? So I'm gonna be using my phone to make sure that I do this properly. So let's see, I'm gonna start with my first sphere. Okay, cool, I can see it. Okay, so that's the first sphere, okay? Okay, there we go. All right, so can you see that? All right, so let me actually move this camera down a little bit more so that you can get a better view. I'll put it right about there. It should be good. Can you see the whole tree? Yeah, that's good. That's good enough. All right, let me get back in focus now. 1 second. Okay, so this is it. So this right here is the Sephiroth, okay? So the very top sphere, okay? The very top sphere is going to be Kether. So I'm going to put Kether. So this is Kether right there, the very top sphere, okay? Then we're going to come over. So once again, I've made videos about this. I made videos on what is known as the true tree of life. So typically, people are working with the wrong tree. They're working with the backside of the tree because they don't have the true knowledge of the true pillars of the tree. So when you look it up online, like for example, what I'm looking at right now, they don't have it right. It says that Binah is here, but in reality, Binah is here. Because if we're working with the front of the tree, if this is the left pillar, or if this is Chokma, that should be on the right pillar, then it should be over here. Because I want the tree to be facing me, so then this is the new left pillar. So if the tree is facing me, this is the left hand. So that's why we're going to do the left pillar on the left side of the tree. So my left hand's here, it's going to be on the left side. My right hand's here, it's going to be on the right side. But if what most people work with when it comes to the tree is they're working with this version right here, and they're working with the backside. So they got it reversed, and that makes a big difference, and I'll go into that in this video. So we have Kether, and then this is going to be Binah, B-I-N-A, and then we have Chokma. I'm going to abbreviate. I'm going to put Chokma. So Kether, Binah, or Kether, Chokma, Binah, and then here we're going to have Chesed, and then Gavura, okay, and then Tiffaret. Okay, and then we're gonna have Hod, H-O-D, Netzach. I'm gonna put Net. I'm gonna put Nets, and then we have Yesod. So, and then we have Mom. Okay, so this is it. All right, thanks for your patience anyways. Thanks for your patience for staying through this. And those of you that are serious about the occult and wanting to learn more about the true foundation, the true backbone of what many professional occult magicians do, then you are, you should have patience, and you are definitely watching this right now. For those of you that are not so serious about this, and you just want to, you want the next best thing, you want the next fast thing, you want that instant gratification, you probably already logged off right now. Okay, so shame on you. But this is it. So let me first start off by explaining the pillars. So like what I said from the beginning. So this is the right pillar right here, and then this is the left pillar. Because remember, we want the tree facing us. So this is the left, this is the right here, okay? And then right here, I'm gonna put an M because this is the middle pillar. So what goes right down here is the middle pillar. The middle pillar doesn't change, it stays the same, obviously. So the middle pillar is right there. Now let me go into so how the energy flows. So the way the energy flows from the front side of the tree of life, okay, it's going to go from Kether, okay, to Chokma. So this is the crown. So Kether can be known as crown, okay. This is pretty much what this means is this is where energy comes from, okay. This is literally like when it comes to a roadmap of occult spirituality and occult sciences and where does energy even come from? This is the roadmap of where energy comes from. And each one of these spheres has a certain representation to it in a certain, you could say type of, you could almost say type of perspective, and it has its own experience. Almost as if every one of these spheres is a different environment or a completely different place on the astral plane, but also different you could think of them as power zones or energy. You could say energy. You could almost say energy receptors or outlets within yourself. So this is not only just the roadmap of where energy comes from and how energy is created, but this is also an exact roadmap of how evolution happens on a spiritual level. So everything is operated by this system, the tree of life. And this is also, if you can kind of tell, it looks like DNA. Okay, it's symbolic of being the DNA because it runs through every single person that is a human being. This is what we are all connected to. We are all connected to the tree of life. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, no exceptions unless you are not a human, which most of us living here on earth have human in us, okay? So this is the system. So Kether, Chokma, it goes from Chokma to Binah. And then right here, right in between here, I'm gonna put a little circle right there. This is a hidden sphere right there. So this is what's known as Dat. So D-A-A-T-H. So this is the hidden sphere of knowledge. Okay, this is known, once again, this is called Dat. And what Dat translates to is death. Okay, that's why I wear this ring that has a skull on it, because it translates to death. Okay, and then I'll go into what the importance is of that. So then it goes Kether, Chokma, Binah, and then it comes down to Chesed, then it goes to Gavura, then it goes down to Tiffaret, okay, then it goes to Netzach, then it goes to Hod, then it goes to Yesod, and then from Yesod to Malkuth. Okay, let me just give you a brief understanding of what exactly these spheres mean. So once again, Kether. So first thing actually I want to say is, if you were to initiate through this system, through this tree, every one of these spheres is a certain, you could think of certain type of initiation. So when you work with a sphere, and you're going to understand what I mean, because every single sphere has a specific meaning and certain types of symbolism that's attributed to it, and certain governance over a human being's evolution. So, for example, let me start here. So let me just give you an understanding of what these spheres represent first. So Kether is crown, okay? This is the first. So we're looking at it like this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm gonna put 10 there. So Kether, this is how energy flows from creation. And then up here we actually have 4 negative veils of existence. We have Ain, actually 3 essentially. So it's gonna go Ain, Ein Sof, and then Ein Sofer. So from these negative veils of existence, okay, you could say the void, if you've ever heard the term of the void, it's like straight dark matter energy. It's space, okay? It's what contains everything in it. This is essentially the void, exists in these negative veils of existence. So this right here is occult understanding of everything truly does come from darkness, okay? Light comes from darkness. So you can think of every one of these spheres as being light, okay? And actually the way these spheres connect in their order, if you could draw the connection, what does that look like? It looks like a lightning bolt, okay? Because it is light, okay? A lightning bolt coming down. Okay, so I'm not really gonna go into the negative veils of existence right now. This is just gonna cover the tree of life. Okay, and the tree of life contains the Sephiroth, the Qlippoth, and the tunnels of Set. So I'm gonna cover that in this video. Okay, so this is crown. Okay, crown. Kether is crown. It's the top crown. That's like the energy centers in the top of your head. Then we have Chokma. Chokma is gonna be wisdom. Okay, Chokma is the pure essence of having wisdom. Okay. You can almost think of it like a fatherly type of wisdom. So everything on the right pillar. Let me do this. Okay, so right pillar, masculine, left pillar, feminine. And if I spell stuff wrong, I tend to spell wrong. So disregard that though. So we have masculine, feminine, right, left. So Chokma is like that fatherly type of wisdom, okay? Then we have Binah, which is understanding. So you could think of that as like a feminine person, mostly females, have that just understanding. Like a lot of females just understand things. You know, they can read emotions very well. They have a really strong connection with this sphere, and that's why they have that understanding. And a lot of men have that deep inner wisdom that, so you could think of this, Chokma, as being your grandfather. If you have a grandfather, if you've ever met someone's grandfather that was like one of those wise old men, that would be a man that's connected to this sphere. That's like a real life manifestation of this sphere. So just that wise man who just, you know, has been through a lot of experience and knows when he's communicating with somebody else that what he's communicating is his own wisdom to that other person in regards to maybe what that person needs to hear. So, and once again, this doesn't mean it has to be a man or this has to be a woman. This entire system exists in every human being, okay? So we have the masculine side of us and we have the feminine side of us. Obviously, whatever you're born as, being man or woman, you are more naturally geared towards that. So if you're a man, you're more naturally masculine. It's a part of your DNA, and that's actually important to understand because it's more so geared in your own DNA, because it's embedded in your DNA. As you go through this initiatory system, you're going to be uncovering all the feminine and masculine parts of yourself, but then once you've finished, you're going to step into that masculine, you could say that masculine piece of who you are, because there's a reason why there's two different genders: masculine, feminine, man, woman. There's a reason. And the reason is the two different polarities that can bring balance to each other. So it's really important to understand that. So yeah. Okay, so Kether, crown, Chokma, wisdom, Binah, understanding. Okay, then right here, in order to get to these three spheres, these are the highest spheres on the tree. Okay, these three right here. In order to get to these, you have to essentially cross the abyss. So when I say in order to get to them, I mean to fully access them within your being. So you can almost think of these spheres as different genetic activations that literally happen on a physical level, on a genetic level, and all of that affects your psychology, all that affects your emotional, mental, and physical state, all of this stuff. And this is all spiritual knowledge. This is all spiritual science. So that's why the occult literally governs all other aspects of self-development, okay, in its totality. So in order to activate this level of genetic awakening, and you could think of power within yourself, in order to open these gateways of power, these three, you have to cross the abyss. Okay, you can work with these spheres. So like if you did a meditation, some of you know this, but if you do meditations on these spheres, meaning you set up the symbolism for it, you create a mantra or you use someone else's mantra to work with, you could say, some of the spirits that reside in that sphere, or to, you know, whatever system you use or whatever technique you use to try and channel these spheres, you can meditate on it. Okay, you can experience what they feel like. But in order to fully access them, you have to initiate. You have to go through a full initiation, and that starts at Malkuth. And I'll get there, but you'll work your way up, and then you'll get to this point right here, where the next step is to cross death, which is the abyss, and it stands for death. So you've literally got to cross that, and when you cross that, you're having a literal spiritual, egotistical death. It is a full-on, complete shifting of what Carlos Castaneda talks about with the assemblage point. it completely shifts your assemblage point. And you can think of the assemblage point as your point of awareness, and it completely shifts it to source. So your assemblage point goes directly in balance so that you're connecting to source, which is evolution. Okay, source is what people call God. It is that pure state of just you are connecting with higher forces. Okay, and that experience of crossing the abyss, crossing death, you have that death that once again it takes away your sense of self-importance. Like the more you try to bring ego into the equation, if you're crossing death, your ego gets shit on. It gets thrown away. Like you can't do it. And if you try to do it, you instantly get pushed back. Like you have no ability to really exert your ego. All you can do is come from a place of source and come from that place of spirit, which is a very balanced assemblage point. Okay, and I'll make a whole video on what the assemblage point is in a different video. But in order to gain access to the higher spheres or higher power zones that are in your own genetic code, you've got to have that depth. That's why we have this, we have the story of Jesus Christ dying on the cross, then rising from the dead. He died on the cross from death and then rose to the higher spheres, which is Kether. And some people call Kether Christ consciousness. So that's what that whole symbolism is. Every single religion or every single metaphorical story that you hear about death and then someone coming back from death or rising from death, they're referring to this, the crossing of the abyss. The crossing of the abyss was known as completing the great work in the words of Aleister Crowley. Completing the great work. That is literally the most important experience you have to go through on your journey of being a magician or on your journey of being a professional occultist, a sorcerer, a real wizard. Okay, like this is the most important part. So yeah, and it's once again, it is not an easy experience to go through, and it typically will last somewhere around 4 months. And it's funny because when I start talking about this, there's people that will like message me and they'll be like, oh, I remember when I crossed the abyss. And I'm just thinking I have a really good intuition and I know they didn't cross the abyss. And people tend to have ego deaths, right? It's pretty common to have an ego death. That's how evolution works. It means you're dying to your old beliefs or your old sense of self. This is a spiritual death. This is like you literally lose full identity of who you are and you completely come into a different state of being. It's full disillusion, full out of control. So once again, I'll come across a lot of people that will be like, oh yeah, I remember when I crossed the abyss, and really all they had was a very minute ego death, and they think that they've crossed the abyss. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard, because if they had went through this experience, I get like not everyone makes it through that. People go insane, people lose their mind. Some people can't handle it, which is why it's important to understand what I'm explaining about the tree of life, because there is a process of initiation and it's geared to work you up to the point where you're suited well enough to be able to cross death and be successful doing it. So let me continue where I'm at. So for those of you that think you crossed the abyss just because your fucking ego is out of line, you're wrong. Shame on you. All right. I've crossed the abyss, okay? I've done it. And once again, it's not an easy experience, but it's a beautiful experience once you're like in it, okay? Because you connect with source, okay? And source is beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so Bina, Chesed. So Bina is understanding, once again. Then we have Chesed. Chesed is going to be mercy, okay? This is mercy. This Gavura, you could think of Gavura as being like warfare. Gavura is like Mars type of energy, just war, right? Fiery, aggressive. This is known to be the most violent sphere on the tree. So any wars that you've ever seen in life, obviously go on the news, like, we've had experiences with wars, or North Korea setting up nukes, Afghanistan, people, our army fighting in Afghanistan, things of that nature. That's all coming from the energy of Gavura. Martial arts is heavily ruled by Gavura. People are fighting. You know, it's aggressive. It's real warfare, real fighting. Psychic warfare is all connected to that. Most people don't like this sphere because it's fiery and it's aggressive and it's confrontational. Once again, Chesed is mercy, so that's pretty much like the opposite of that. This one is more so like an understanding or a seeking to understand others. Kind of like, it's still got a kind of like a, you could almost think of kind of like a fiery energy to it. Like it's an active energy. That's the word I want to use. It's active, but it's looking for everyone's best interest. It's looking to help others. It's looking to better yourself. It's just very, it's like mercy. Like you want to bring mercy. That's the influence. You want to bring mercy to the circumstances or the situation. Okay. Let me check the time. Okay, 25. Okay, so that's mercy. And then you come over here, and this is on the feminine pillar. This is the left pillar. So everything on the feminine pillar is ruled by that dark feminine. So you can think of the feminine as black and the masculine as white. The feminine pillar, everything here is going to be a darker type of influence. So it's going to be a more restrictive. So if you think about Saturn, it's definitely going to have a closer Saturnian type of feeling to it. It's going to have that restrictive dark feminine, and the challenges are typically going to be a little bit more confrontational and a little bit more in your face. Okay, so coming from mercy then right to Yabura, where it's all about warfare. Okay, and then it's restrictive because it's on the feminine pillar. Then we come to Tiffaret. Okay, this is the heart center. This is when it comes to your assemblage point. This is where the most balanced position for your assemblage point is right there. But, you know, as you cross the abyss and you get to Kether, you can actually move your assemblage point above your head, okay? And as you can tell, when you move it to Kether, we have the 4 negative veils of existence. So you can move your assemblage point from the center, which for every person, their assemblage point in its natural, balanced, very healthy, source-connected position, it's going to be right in the middle of their chest. But reality is most people in our society today, their assemblage point is way off. Like some people's is way to the left, some is way to the right, some is lower to their stomach, below their belly button. Some, it's all over the place. So most people that you come in contact with actually don't have a balanced assemblage point. And then there's obviously certain illnesses or certain types of defective behavioral patterns that come from having an unaligned assemblage point. And a lot of it comes down to just the fact that most people don't know about the assemblage point and they don't even understand what I'm talking about. So obviously being an occultist like myself, knowing this science, knowing this technology, you then become aware of your own assemblage point. The second you become aware of your own assemblage point, remember the assemblage point is where your awareness is drawn. So if my assemblage point is in my stomach, my awareness is coming from my stomach. So that typically means I'm going to be obese, I'm going to be overweight, because I'm coming from a whole different space of awareness. I'm not thinking with balance. Okay, I'm not stepping into balance if it's in my stomach. If it's like lodged in my head, like way up in my head in the wrong area, then I'm way too analytical. I'm way too logical. I'm always trying to make sense out of things and not trusting what's going on until I can make sense of it. Okay, if it's way to the left, there's other things that are connected with that. If it's way to the right, there's other things that are connected with that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there are books about it, okay? And Carlos Castaneda talks about it as well. He's a great author as well. So you can check that out. And definitely look into the book called The Power of Silence. That is a great book for anyone that's an occult practitioner or wants to take their practice seriously. This is a must read, okay? So we have that. So once again, Tiffaret is known as beauty. So this is going to be the assemblage point, okay? This is the assemblage point right here. This is what a balanced assemblage point is. Once again, as you cross through death, get to Kether, your assemblage point can raise up to higher levels that go even beyond the tree itself. So you can essentially transcend reality, transcend evolution, transcend the entire process of spiritual development. But obviously, we have the negative veils of existence. So that's a lot of dark, chaotic, you could say scary energy that's up there. But you have to work with that energy and adapt to it and discipline yourself so that you can fully integrate that in your being. And as you continue to do that, then you become a very, very powerful person. man or woman who does that and gets that point, which is not a lot. Okay, many people have not done what I just said, where they raise their assemblage point all the way up. It's very scary for a lot of people to do that, even when you're, you know, an occult practitioner and you're aware of where your assemblage point is and you've traveled through the different spheres and you've gotten to the top. It's very, you know, it's still a massive challenge to keep your assemblage point up there and then work through the experiences and the challenges that you have while it's in that position. Some people like to bring it back down to Tiffaret and stay there. But that, in my opinion, is not a good decision, because there's so much undiscovered power, knowledge, and wisdom up here that you can only access if you can get your assemblage point up there. So it would be like it would be like slapping your own face to have the opportunity to gain all that wisdom, knowledge, and power, and then actively bring it back down here. You know, that'd be kind of for someone that's like, okay, I did the work, whatever, let me just, you know, feel good now. It's like, damn, you're so close though to like stepping into real levels of power that is beyond what people can really understand. Like, this is like the level where you can move objects with your hands and with your, not with your hands, but with your mind. Like, you could put your hand out and an object would move. That's like where that level is, okay? So we have that. Okay, so Tiffaret, this is known as beauty. Okay, this is connected to the assemblage point that's located right, you know, right in the middle of your chest, which is like the heart center you can think of. Then we come down to Netzach. Trying to think, what does Netzach represent? Netzach. Oh, okay. Netzach is victory. Yes, Netzach is victory. I believe that's right. Let me just double check. Let's see if this shows me. Okay, actually it doesn't show me, but this should be victory right here. Victory. So Netzach is, you know, victory. So when you're successful with something, when you do something and you get success doing that thing, whenever you work hard for something and you accomplish your goal, whenever you make decisions that are in your best interest, that's this influence right here. This is Netzach. That's the influence of, I did it, I accomplished it, victory. Okay, I made the good choice and it led to this result. That's Netzach. Once again, because I didn't create a real life example of what Tiffaret is other than the assemblage point. Tiffaret is being balanced. So have you ever come into contact with someone in your life that's like, oh, you know, they just refuse to pick sides. They refuse to be like, oh, it's left or right. And they just don't seem to have their own opinion, like on either side, but they're always in the middle. Like, they're always like, no, it's, you know, it's a little bit of both. Like, very usually relaxed and chill people that are genuine with it, not trying to be like that, but just very genuine. That would be someone that's operating from Tiffaret. Essentially it's a beautiful type of energy, because you don't have the kind of fire that could come from Gavura, where someone's like, no, you're wrong, it's this, it's this, it's this. And it's, you know, it's just very balanced. And typically these types of people that operate from this sphere, you know, you don't have to be aware of the tree to be operating from this sphere, from any of these spheres. Once again, this is just occult knowledge. Everyone's operating on one of these different types of spheres, okay? So the person that's operating from that sphere is just very balanced. Yeah. Okay, so then we have Netzach, which is victory. Then we have Hod. I'm trying to think, what is Hod? Hod. I don't remember what Hod is off the top of my head. I don't remember, but I know what Hod's like. I know what it feels like because I work through all of these. So Hod is basically See, I worked with this tree from the Qlippothic perspective, so I'm thinking of Samael. I'm thinking of like talking about Samael, but I definitely experienced this as well, this side of it as well. So Hod would be your power. Okay, so when you're in Hod, you have a very strong sense of what you're doing. Okay, you have a very strong sense of, this is what I'm aiming for, and I'm going all in for it. And you have a lot of energy in Hod. This is a lot of energy, okay? It's also on the feminine pillar, so there's a little bit of restriction in Hod, but the restriction causes you to, you could almost say, charge up your energy. And you really see things that you want in life, and you build up your energy, whether that's eating healthy, taking care of yourself, making sure you're feeding your mind the proper types of content, to conjure up that energy to achieve those things that you want to go and achieve. So this sphere, Hod, gives you a very strong connection to the realization that you can literally achieve anything you want, okay? And it gives you the strong indication, the strong understanding that everything does come down to your levels of energy. So the more energy that you have as a being or as a person, the more you're going to be able to literally manifest or bring to fruition or bring to the physical plane whatever it is that is in your mind that you work towards. Okay, so Hod would be like that realization of like, I can literally achieve anything as long as I have the right energy to do it, and I'm aware of, you know, building my energy up. I can literally achieve anything. Okay, so that's what Hod would feel like. So if you've ever met someone that's like a delusional optimist, right? I'm thinking of one person off the top of my head. If you guys know about Charlie Rocket, he's like quoted as being like a delusional optimist, or just someone that's like, all things are possible. Like literally like people that believe that and have that understanding, like you can achieve anything. You can literally do anything. You just have to know how to build up your energy to do that. And there's obviously a process to gaining that knowledge to build up your energy to then move forward with that. And it's a huge spiritual process to do that. But Hod is that influence, that silent influence of you can do anything. You just have to build up your energy. And typically people that are in Hod and being affected by Hod have high energy, okay? Because Hod itself is a very strong power zone, okay? If we look at all these different spheres as being different power zones, Hod is at that level. You're very empowered by that understanding of everything's possible. Everything's possible, okay? It's a little bit like, it's a lot, okay? So that's what that would be. That's that feeling. Yesod is the astral. Okay, so Yesod is now the astral plane. So this is where the occult starts. Okay, this is where when you start understanding Yesod or Yesod, however you want to say it, that's when you start to realize all of these spiritual hidden sciences that are governing everything on earth. So this would be the experience, Yesod, when you work with Yesod, of realizing that we literally live in a matrix. And if you understand what I mean by that, everything is governed by a sequence of numbers and codes. Like everything is numbers. Like invisibly, if you could see with the right psychic vision, there's numbers all around us. Everything is numbers, okay? And this would be the understanding of that. Yesod would give you the understanding that we live in an invisible matrix that if you can master, you can take over the matrix. Okay, this is obviously, I'm a black magician, so that's my perspective on it, take over the matrix. But that's that understanding that when you understand you're in the matrix, that's Yesod. Okay, you're like, whoa, everything is a matrix. Like everything is spiritual. Everything's connected to spirituality. That's Yesod. And a symbol that you could connect with Yesod is the moon. And you could even say, like, if we're going to be talking about spirits, you could say a very seductive, feminine spirit that seduces you into Hod, that seduces you in, because Yesod is the astral plane, and Malkuth below it is the physical plane. So if you're only in the state of mind of everything's physical, you know, there is no spirituality to life, that doesn't exist, it's not true, then Yesod would seduce you so that feminine, that dark feminine spirit, however that manifests in your life, could seduce you into wanting to pursue bigger understandings that everything is possible, and that and then coming to Netzach, that you can actually achieve, be victorious with what you know in Hod as everything, you know, everything is possible. You know, you could achieve anything you want, and then connecting to Netzach, you want to actually be victorious doing that, achieving the things that you know you can't. You want to actually do it, okay? And then here you have to find balance with all that, you know, with all your understandings, you got to find balance. You got to balance it out. You got to be realistic with yourself. You got to know how to manage your energy. And then you got to know how to stop your challengers, right? You got to learn how to stop people that get in your way. But then you also have to have mercy, because not everyone is your enemy. Not everyone is your challenger. You got to know who your enemies are. You got to know who your allies are, okay? And then, then you die. You die to all that, who you thought you became. If you want to take it to that next level, if you want to be the most powerful you've got to die to yourself and let it all go. So when you hear people talk about let go, we hear that all the time. Let go, let go, let go. The most powerful things, some of the most influential people in our society today always talk about letting go. Okay, that would be daft. But even people that talk about letting go, they've never experienced the crossing of the abyss. Letting go can help you ease into an ego death. Letting go can, obviously help you move through these different spheres. But a full letting go of everything you thought you've become, because here is mercy. You've already gone through all this. You've attained all this. And then you got to die to all of that. Let it all go. And then you get real understanding. Then you get real wisdom. And then you become crowned. And when you're crowned, now you're gaining access to what's above that. Okay, now your assemblage point is starting to rise high. So Yesod, once again, taking it back, Yesod is the astral plane. So it seduces you into what you know is pretty much possible. So that's Yesod. You can think of it, once again, as the moon. Okay, it's that moon energy. Then we have Malkuth, that's below it. Okay, this is going to be the physical plane. So this is a perspective that a lot of people come from, where a lot of people may say they're religious, or a lot of people may say they believe in spirituality, but their actions say otherwise, meaning they're living lives that are very based in the physical plane. And they only identify with things, once again, that they can prove, things that make sense to them. If it doesn't make sense to them, then it can't be real. Physical form, things that are physical form, everything that's physical, once again, everything that you touch that's physical, everything that you see is physical, that all is represented by Malkuth. And as you work your way through these different spheres and you get to Kether, the goal is to take all the energy and all the experiences, all the genetic code activations that you've gained from working through all these different power zones, channel them through the astral plane, okay? Using that dark feminine moon energy, channel them all through that. You could think of this is like a female. Yesod is the dark feminine, so like giving birth. So all that energy channels through Yesod, symbolically being the female, and then giving birth to physical manifestation, giving birth to your everything that you work for. So everything that now that you've unlocked all this within yourself, you know what you want, you know how to get what you want, and all that energy comes down, channels through Yesod, which you could think of as being like the vagina of a female, and then it gives birth to your physical creations that were all created in the mind. Okay, from going through all these different experiences. And obviously, if you've gone through this initiatory system, which I'll explain in a second, you have a lot more power than the average person. One, because you have more knowledge, and knowledge turns to power, but you literally changed your own genetic structures. You've literally unlocked things in yourself that the average person has within them, but it's dormant in the average person. So when you go through this, you're reactivating it. You're becoming re-aware of it. Your assemblage point is moving throughout this entire process. Okay? And then, hence, that's why it's a DNA. And that's why it's a lightning bolt that goes through the DNA. Okay? So Malkuth is the physical plane. Okay? So now I'm gonna speak on this, and then I'm gonna end it here, and I'm gonna do a part 2 for the tunnels of Set. Okay, I'm gonna explain where the tunnels of Set are located, and then I'm gonna be covering the Qlippoth. So I'll do a part 2 on that. So definitely stay tuned if you want to know about the tree of knowledge and the tunnels of Set and how that functions together. Okay, but here, so when you work with this tree, okay, when you come from an occultist perspective, a practitioner, someone that's intending on using this to gain spiritual power, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you want to do it in order. So you would want to initiate the opening of Malkuth. Okay? How do you do that? You do that through ritual. Okay, there are certain ritualistic techniques that you can do, and you can call on specific spirits that have governance over these spheres. So every one of these spheres has a specific archangel that is connected to it. So you would want to work with those archangels and set up a ritual to literally open these different spheres. And you can create that ritual in a very unique way to yourself if you know how to do that, where you can literally, once again, create your own ritual that opens the sphere. So you can set that up however you do that. As long as you know what you're doing in terms of like your ritual, like you know what you're doing as in opening the spheres and you're calling on the right spirit that can do that for you, then that would be how you would initiate through this tree. Okay? And where you would want to start, you wouldn't want to just like do Kether, because remember, you can't just get to Kether, right? You got to cross Daf. Okay? Some people want to cheat and they want to try and go up higher or whatever. You wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to access these because you haven't crossed Daf. But if you were to just jump to Gabura, I would not recommend that because this is one of the most violent spheres. So if you just jumped here, you're going to be hit with a massive experience of like, what's going on? Like, why is everyone so violent right now? Why is everything so aggressive? Like, what happened? And you just wouldn't, it wouldn't be the best way to do it. It would be like you're trying to get somewhere and you're taking the longest route possible to get to your destination. That would be the same thing that would happen to you if you were to just jump from random spheres. With like you trying to like skip the system, if that's your intention and you're trying to jump spheres, that would be not really smart for you. Because once again, these are all geared in a proper order to prepare you for the next sphere. So this one prepares you for this one. Yesod prepares you for Hod. Netzach prepares you for this, and you know, so on. So you want to start with Malkuth, which is the physical plane, and you would want to open that. And then once you've worked through that, so what does that mean? Like when you open these spheres, you are actually going to get, if you do it the proper way, I'm not talking about just meditating on them. You can open them through meditation, but I find it to be more effective if you set up a ritual and make it more ritualistic. And if you have the intention that you want to really experience it in your life, in your day-to-day life, like if I was to open this sphere, Malkuth, I want to experience everything that's correlated to Malkuth in my reality, in my day-to-day life, not just when I'm meditating on it. I don't want to just experience it when I sit down, I set up the symbolism, and I go into the astral plane and then experience it there. I do want to experience it like that, but I also, this is very important, I also want to experience it in my day-to-day life. So when I leave out this warehouse that I'm in, I want to see Malkuth around me. I want to see people that are attributed to Malkuth. I want to see spiritual symbolism that is related to Malkuth. I want to go through the experiences of Malkuth so that I can fully understand it. Okay? Fully. Like I want to live in Malkuth. That's how you want to initiate. So once you've done that, which typically every sphere will typically take somewhere usually around 1 to 2 months to fully integrate and to fully get a grasp on, to understand. So then once you've done that, it might be shorter, it might be longer, it just depends on who you are. Once you've done that, and you would also want to do invocations of the angels that are associated with these spheres, or whatever spirit is associated with any of these spheres. Once you've done that, then you can go on to do your ritual for the next one, Yesod. And once, 1 to 2 months later, then you go to Hod. 1 to 2 months later, you go to Netzach. So you can see this can be a very long process, okay? I've been doing this for 2 years now, okay? I've been working with the Qlippoth, which is the, I'm going to make a video on that, not on this one though. But that's the hell realms of this tree. So if you imagine this tree projecting itself below itself, being a shadow, that's what the Qlippoth is. And you can actually access the Sephiroth by going through Qlippothic initiations, and I'll go into that in the next video. So I find that to be a much more effective way. But when you utilize this tree in this way, and you create your own ritual to open these spheres, that's the most effective way to do it. Because if you're going to use any occult orders books, like the OTO or the Golden Dawn, they're using the wrong tree. So their left pillar is over here and the right pillar is over here. And a lot of their information in their books, like the specific rituals that they have you perform, they've got you doing it, one, with the wrong pillars. They're working with the wrong tree. And their northeast, south, and west is wrong as well. So the rituals in their books are, in short, booby-trapped. And I have a video on that. You should definitely check it out. It's called Exposing Inner Illuminatis. But they're working with the wrong system. And you don't want to do that. So you want to literally do this very, you could say, a shamanistic perspective. Make this organic for yourself. So, you create your own ritual. First, you got to obviously study a little bit about the spheres to know what they are, so that you could even get the symbolism for your ritual and know what you're doing through intention. But once you do that, you can create your own ritual and open the sphere, once again, using the spirit of these different spheres, the specific angel. And then you would typically, this is right-hand path, okay? If you're going to work with just the front side, and you're not going to work with the Qlippoth or the tunnels of Set, then you're working just with those archangels, and you're going from sphere to sphere, if you're a true right-hand path. You got to be careful, because there's a lot of traps out there for right-hand path that try to dump you to the backside of the tree, which is the tunnels of Set. And then once you're in the tunnels of Set, that makes every one of these spheres inverted. So this would be physical plane. This would be the astral. They would be inverted. So you would get put it this way, you would get things that you don't want to have. Okay, so all the good that you would get from this is bad, and it's ×2. Okay, so this would ruin your entire experience. So that's why you got to be careful, because there's not too many at all real right-hand path magicians that use their own version of the tree to initiate. And what do I mean by that? Like, first of all, the knowledge of the pillars. Okay, this is the real left, this is the real right when you're looking at it. Because if I'm working with the tree where this is the left pillar and this is the right, you see where my left hand is? My left hand is where the left is, and my right hand is where the right is. But if I go like this, and now the left pillar is on this side, and the right's on this side, then what am I working with? What are you looking at? You're looking at my back. So then I would be working, whoever is working with that messed up version is working with the back side of the Sephiroth. And the back side of the Sephiroth is, drumroll, the tunnels of Set. And if you do that and you're using, once again, these occult orders, books, performing their rituals, or even other people, like you're like, it's life. You're gonna come across people that are gonna tell you to try this ritual or do this and do this, or chakra meditation, the 7 chakra meditations. There's a lot of traps out there, and it's harder for a right-hand path magician to do it successfully than a left-hand path magician, because the left-hand path magician is utilizing dark matter energy coming from here, and they're literally changing their entire being. Okay, they're becoming what's known as the vampire. They're becoming a vampiric type of spirit in their nature, a very predatory vampiric type of spirit, which sucks naturally chaotic energy, dark matter energy, and then turns it into power for the left-hand path magician. But if you're the right-hand path magician, you don't have that same type of technology going on to the same degree that a left-hand path does, because you're not working with the same spirits. Okay, you're not working with the Qlippothic spirits, which is Lucifer, Hecate, Belial, Beelzebub, Lilith, Nama, Samael, Asmodee, Lucifuge, Rafael, and any that I may have left out. Beelzebub. You're not working with them, so you're not getting the same benefits or the alchemy that they have to offer. The angels offer you great things too. The angels offer great things, amazing things, but remember, it's just more dangerous. It's harder to do, because you're gonna not have the same type of protection. Okay, and you're essentially not gonna have the same amount of power as well. Left-hand path magicians have a lot more power than a right-hand path magician. But if you do this successfully, and you don't fall into any traps, where you perform a ritual that's got the wrong symbolism in it and the intention is inverted, where the person that did the ritual, had some major mistakes in it and put bad intention into it, and then you go and you perform the ritual thinking you're going to get some sort of result, but then you just end up realizing like this is not a good ritual, this like I don't, whatever. Then what happens is it dumps you into the tunnels of Set, and then all of this becomes inverted. And once you're in the tunnels of Set and you're a right-hand path magician, you could think of this, the front side of the tree is universe A, and then the tunnels of Set, which is the back side of this, so the back side is universe B. So if you bring universe A into universe B, that's what creates, so if I bring universe A into universe B, where the tunnels of Set are, if I bring the front side of the tree to the tunnels of Set, that energy, that is where the inversion happens. That's where the inversion takes place. So everything that you experience on the front side is once again inverted on you. Now you're in the tunnels of Set, where there's tons of demons, tons of them, and now you're walking down the tunnels of a black magician that the black magician works through, but you're a right-hand path, and you don't have the same protection as the right-hand path does, or as the left-hand path does. So now you're in a position where you're dealing with very dangerous forces without the same amount of protection, and you don't want to be in that position. And this happens to a lot of people that are light workers, that try to be white magicians, and their life goes downwards. Some of you that are watching this right now may know what I'm talking about, or may understand intuitively what I'm talking about. But this is real, and this happens to a lot of people, especially people that get into the occult and want to be light workers and come across the tree of life and want to be light workers, want to save the planet, all that stuff. They get dumped into the tunnels of Set, and then their soul, pretty much what happens is they get tortured in the tunnels of Set so much that they lose touch of their soul, which is their purpose, their intention, and then their soul goes down to the Qlippothic realms and it shells. So that they just stay in that state of, I lost my purpose, I lost my sense of, wanting to be my best self or reach my highest potential, so I'm just going to settle for the bullshit that society has to offer. That's what it feels like when your soul is shelled. Now you look around in our society, how many people are like that? That don't have a higher sense of purpose, that don't have big goals in front of them. People that have just settled for mediocrity. Okay? A lot of people. So that says that a lot of people's souls are being hellized in the Qlippoth. And once again, to get your soul hellized in the Qlippoth, you usually transport right to the tunnels of Set until you get tortured enough that you give up. That you make that conscious choice that's like, I'm not even going to try to aim for my highest self anymore, or aim for what I know I'm capable of. I just give up because it's not worth it. It's not worth my time or energy. That perspective is someone that's been hellized, okay? And this happens to people, they're not aware of this though. This is just the technology or the roadmap that is explaining what is going on in our day-to-day life, in our society, what's going on around us. So if you understand this, you obviously have a lot of power, okay? So the right-hand path magician, if they do it properly, they'll work through this whole thing, and then they'll reach Kether. And then they'll come back down to Tiffaret. The right-hand path always comes back down to Tiffaret. And now their assemblage point would be in the center of their chest. They'd be a very balanced being. They would be connected to Source. Okay? They'd be directly connected to Source because they went all the way up. They crossed the abyss, which this is a different abyss than the Qlippothic abyss. There's a universe A abyss and there's a universe B abyss. Okay? They're different. So remember, the left-hand path is a harder path in general, but you also get more protection when you're a left-hand path magician. So you get more protection to walk through that level of danger and that level of challenge. Okay, but the right-hand path will be able to cross the abyss and then get to the higher states of consciousness, come back down. Then they're connected to Source and they've achieved their goal, and they live a very wise and understanding type of life. And this is like a person that you would see in your life, like you could say like Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, I think I said that right. He would be like a good example of someone that's probably gone through that process. Eckhart Tolle, someone who's like a spiritual guru. You have Sadhguru, that other guy, that Indian guy who's Sadhguru. I believe that's what he goes by. And let's see. Yeah, and you can kind of brainstorm yourself and try and figure out what people that you think may have gone through this process. Remember, unconsciously, most of the times people aren't aware of the tree, so they're going through this experience just naturally. I mean, remember, this is the DNA. It runs in our blood. So this initiatory system, you're gonna go through it. We all are born in the physical plane. We all are automatically here as little children. So you're naturally a part of this process, okay? So you can either do it successfully. So if you have discipline and you don't listen to what other people tell you in terms of false advice, and you don't buy into it, you can very well travel through all these spheres without knowing what without knowing what you're exactly doing. And you can gain power, right-hand path power as a right-hand path magician. But if you make mistakes, if you get into drugs, you get addicted to drugs, you get into a relationship that throws you way off and makes you change who you are, and then you just start like, have you ever heard someone, I lost myself, or I started losing myself? That's typically someone that's been on here on the front side of the tree and then dumped into the tunnels of Set. And then you'll notice how some people's lives just drastically change. They just change because they went from universe A and then transferred to universe B of the tunnels of Set. And then throughout their life, as they grow older and older and older, they get uglier, weaker. They get that bald spot in the middle of their head. Then that's when their soul's hellized at that point. So their soul is in the hell realm. Okay. So that's what's going on. So, but once again, there are right-hand path people that know this knowledge and know how to do it properly. I do. I know one that does that. He's a great guy too, and he's got the name of an angel too. His name's Gabriel. I know one guy that does it properly. And I don't think he really knows too much about this, but he seems like he's got that shamanistic type of intuition. And he definitely has power, and he's right-hand path, and mainly right-hand path. And yeah, and he does that. He trusts his own intuition, trusts his own gut over others, and that's why he's successful. But remember, there's a lot more opportunity to make mistake here and to get fucked over. So if you have gotten dumped into the tunnels of Set, or if your soul is in the Qlippoth currently while you're watching this, does that mean everything's game over for you? No, there's a reason why you're watching this video. So that's the first step. Like, there's a reason why you watch this video and you made it this far. And there is a step to get out of it. And the way that you get out of it is by working with left-hand path magic. So you're going to have to start working with some of the Qlippothic spirits. And I have a video on some of the four most important ones in my perspective from my path, which is Hecate, Lucifer, Belial, and Lilith. So if you start working with these spirits, they can, and you build relationships with them, build an energetic resonance and connection with them, they can then begin to show you what you need to do to revive yourself from that hell realm, because these are the dark matter energy spirits that essentially exist in these realms. So you've got to work with the devil to get out of hell, okay? And that's just how it is, okay? So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it at. This is the Tree of Life. This is just the front side. So this is the Sephiroth. Once again, below it is the Qlippoth. And then the back side of the Sephiroth is the tunnels of Set. Okay, so on the next video I'm going to be covering the tunnels of Set, like what exactly is it, and I'm going to be covering the Qlippothic spheres. Okay, so if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Also hit the notification bell and hit the subscribe button as well, because I post videos as often as I can, and I love to see my channel grow, so definitely hit that subscribe. And then other than that, if you want to know more about these spheres individually, broken down from all of my notes and all my personal experience having worked through them, all of that knowledge is on my Patreon. And I've already covered the whole Sephiroth. So I go through every one of these different spheres and I break down my experience traveling through them and all the notes that I've taken on these spheres. And right now what I'm covering is the Qlippoth. Okay, so if you're a part of my Patreon, then you know, but I just covered the first sphere or shell of the Qlippoth. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, going from every single sphere of the Qlippoth, sharing my own experience, having worked through it myself. Okay? So definitely you can check that out on my Patreon. It's that first link in the description. Then you go to the second link below. It's going to take you to the Facebook community. You'll click that. You'll see a pinned post that says private group here. Request to join in that group. Once I get 50 people in there, I'm going to be posting on there consistently in the form of written content and in the form of pictorial quotes. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or night wherever you are, and definitely make sure you take notes on this, because this is very valuable information that not a lot of people know about. Not a lot of people are going to be able to share with you, especially in regards to the way that I break it down and the truth of the tree and all that stuff. So definitely take notes. But other than that, once again, have a great rest of the day or night wherever you are, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.